What's going on, guys, and welcome to Who to Sign For. Now in this series I'm giving you my recommendations on what players to sign for a specific team in career mode, but before we go on I will say that the signings you'll see aren't designed to be realistic, and I cannot stress that enough, and the player ratings and potentials of the players may vary depending on what database you're using and how they perform for you during the season. Obviously you don't have to follow all the tips, this is really just a set of guidelines to give you a hand if you're stuck for ideas and want some suggestions on what players you could sign for a certain club. This is mainly aimed at those of you out there who are new to the game, I just need a little bit of advice, or for those of you out there who just want a few recommendations on what players to sign for a team that you may be using in career mode this year. So yes, in today's episode of Who to Sign For, guys, I thought we would do something different today. Let's change it up a little bit and go with something a little bit crazy. So we're going to start off with Newcastle United in today's episode of Who to Sign For. As you can see, they're a 4-star team with very low objectives, just finishing the mid-table in the Premier League and reached the last 16 in the FA Cup. Both definitely doable, no doubt about it, and they got a budget after wage budget alteration of around 27 to 30 million pounds. However, I know that a lot of people in the past couple of months have been doing a Newcastle United career mode in FIFA 20, and one of the reasons why is because, as we all know, there is a big takeover which is, well, rumoured to be happening imminently. It could happen whenever, but of course it still hasn't gone through just yet. That's right, there's a consortium backed from Saudi Arabia that want to take over Newcastle United and put a lot of money into the club. So Magpies fans right now are very excited about the potential future they could be having at St James's Park. And yeah, I know since the takeover rumours, so many people have been doing a Newcastle United career mode. And so I thought, why don't we do a Who to Sign For Newcastle United, but have a takeover edition. That's right, we'll make the takeover happen in the game, give them a financial takeover, pump them full of money, and decide to rebuild their team. So as you can see, I bought the financial takeover from the catalogue. That gave us a budget of around 80 to 82, 83, 84 million pounds. So loads of money here with the Magpies. The takeover completed in FIFA 20, and I thought, let's go ahead and change their team completely. Now again, there are a 4-star team to start off with, and there are a couple of decent young talents here. Primarily, you see there the Longstaff brothers, Sean Longstaff and Matty Longstaff, who I'm particularly very excited about. Freddie Woodman, out on loan as well, is a very decent young goalkeeper, but as you can see by the team here, there's a lot of deadwood here at Newcastle United. There's a lot of players who, quite frankly, lack the quality and need to go. There are 4 players in on loan. You've got Jethro Williams, Danny Rose from Spurs, Nabil Bentaleb, and Lazaro, the right back, as well. And there's several players, their deals that come the end of the year. And most of them, or I should say really most, if not all of them, are players you should let go. The only player you should give a new contract to is Matty Longstaff. Magpies fans are desperate to keep hold of the guy in real life because, again, he is such a great teenage talent, only 19 years old. Scored a course on his debut, I believe, against Manchester United back at the start of the season. He's the only player I'd give a contract to. I'd let everyone else go, and as you can see, I'd put loads of players on the transfer list. Rob Elliott, Andy Carroll, Fernandez, Kieran Clark, Matt Ritchie, Jack Colback, Saivet, Carl Darley, Lejeune, Dwight Gale, Paul Dummett, Christian Atsu, Muto, and Javier Manquillo as well. I'd put loads of players on the transfer list because, quite frankly, here at Newcastle United, they need a massive overhaul. This is not the sort of career mode where you start off with a team, you make 1 or 2 changes, 1 or 2 sales, 1 or 2 signings, and then you're done for the season. No, this is the sort of club that needs a massive rebuild, a crazy restructure, loads of deadwood players that, quite frankly, lack the quality, are coming towards the end of their primes and need to go now. So with Newcastle United, again, after the financial takeover, we had around 80 to 82, 83 million pounds in our budget. So I thought this would be really fun, man. Splashing the cash post takeover and bringing in some real first team quality to Newcastle, because really that's what they're lacking here at St James's Park. First team quality, you know, again, a couple of decent youngsters, but for the most part the team needs some really good players. You've got St Maximin and Joel Linton, the young striker, a couple other decent players. I'm big on their goalkeeper Dubravka, but really, again, it needs far better players if you're going to make Newcastle United a top 10 team that can push for European places. First sign I recommend is in the striker position, because quite frankly Newcastle this season have had a problem in front of goal, haven't scored as many as they need to, really. And the number 1 target I'd recommend is Richarlison. We got him for around £35 million. He's the Brazilian forward, once of Watford, now playing for Everton, of course, and he's just brilliant player. Striker, RM and LM listed position, so if you're not doing a job up top, you can play him on the flanks. High work rates, 5-star skill moves, 4-star weak foot, absolutely rapid, physically a great player, and technically too, has some brilliant stats with the flair trait too. Richarlison, without question, my number 1 target for a Newcastle United career, and again, he'll cost you around 35 mil, but he'll sort out the striker problems you've got. He'll be deadly in front of goal, and again with a 5-star skill moves, 4-star weak foot, flair trait, just a really fun player to use as well. So he was the first signing I made with the Magpies. I also started selling on some of the Deadwood players here as well. Matt Ritchie going to West Ham, who of course the Magpies are facing today. Lejeune going to Watford, and Dwight Gale going to Southampton as well. Again, these are the sort of players who, you know, their overalls aren't too bad. I think Ritchie and Gale are both 75 overall. Lejeune, I think, is 78 overall. That's not too bad. That's good enough for Newcastle United first 11, but again, really, if you want to take the next step with the Magpies, you got to sell these sort of players, man, because again, they're going to be in their late 20s, they're coming towards the end of their best years. You need to sell them now, get as much cash as possible, and look to bring in younger and better replacements. Kieran Clark, another perfect name here, you know, 77 rated, not a bad centre-half, and at 29 years old, still has a year or two before he starts to show signs of decline, but you want better and you want younger. Same in the case of DeAndre Yedlin, the speedy young right-back, well, not very young nowadays, but still quite young at 26 years old, but sell him. Again, we sold him to Lille for 8.5 mil because there are younger and better players out there for you. So in the first transfer window, really, it's all about just culling the deadwood here and just removing all the players who, quite frankly, lack the first team quality for what you want Newcastle United to be. With that takeover, if you choose to use it, and again with the ambitions that the Magpies fans now have with the rumour of the takeover being imminent, you want players that are good enough to play in Europe. You want players that are going to help you take the next step, and your likes of Matt Ritchie and Dwight Gale and Javier Manquillo, fact of the matter is they're simply not good enough to be playing European football. So definitely look to sell them all in the first season, raise a little bit more cash to add to the takeover. Again, you'll get around 6 to 7, possibly £8 million per player as well, which is a decent little bit of money to come into your budget too. As you can see here, we sold those 3 players. DeAndre Yedlin went to Lille as well, and I believe Javier Manquillo also went as well, as Paul Dummett also went to Getafe for, I believe, £10 million as well, as we continue to totally cull out the deadwood and restructure this team completely as well. So after the sale of Paul Dummett and Javier Manquillo as well, we tried to make some more signings here with the Magpies to add to Richarlison after we increased our budget back up after the signing of the Brazilian as well. And with the Magpies needing improvement all over the pitch, I definitely would recommend a new first choice centre-back, because you're going to sell the vast majority. You'll keep Fabian Schär, you'll keep the captain Jamal Lascelles as well, but you're going to want some more squad depth in the CB area, because 2 isn't going to be enough. So you see there, we were negotiating a sale for Federico Fernandez. And the 3 centre-backs I'd recommend for a new first choice here with the Magpies are these guys right here. Joe Gomez of Liverpool, the 22-year-old, 82 rated centre-half, and also the 2 RB Leipzig centre-halves who are so fantastic in this year's FIFA career mode. Deo Upamecano, who I'm sure you've seen many times in your career mode saves, and also Ibrahima Konate as well. Joe Gomez would be my number 1 target. He gets to 89 overall at his full potential, like Upamecano does as well, but he starts off 2 ratings higher despite being 2 years older. He'll probably be the most expensive of the 3, with him being English as well. It's kind of cool to try and build like an English core here with Newcastle United, and Joe Gomez is definitely someone I could see becoming future captain for Newcastle United as well. We signed him for 35 mil. That is 10.5 mil over his current market valuation, but Gomez is an amazing defender. Again, only 22 years old, 6'2". He's got a little bit of pace. He's very, very strong, great defensive stats, and again, can also play right back as well, which is really handy for versatility as well. So Joe Gomez for 35 mil, brilliant signing. And again, I do recommend building like a nice English or British and Irish, if you will, core here with the Magpies, because I think really that's what Newcastle United have had a bit of a problem with in recent seasons. Really, their team's been a little bit, I don't know, ham-fisted, if you will. It's been a little bit disjointed. There's not really been much of an identity with the Magpies, really, but you want to build like a nice base, a nice core, and again, making it a British, an Irish one, or English if you just prefer, is a really fun thing to do. So after signing a Joe Gomez, we then signed Tammy Abraham from Chelsea as well. Really great striker, and again, Newcastle have had problems this season of putting the ball in the back of the net, so Abraham from Chelsea won't cost you much due to the fact that Chelsea have depth in that position. They often buy Timo Werner in the first season as well to add to that depth, which means they won't hold you to ransom over the signing of him. We got him for just 18 mil, which is an absolute bargain for the 21-year-old. His best 2 stats are finishing and heading, and he's 6'5" as well, so a different option for you too, as you've got some real height in your team now. He's a great young player, and with 86 potential, is only going to get better. And as we continue the signings here and continue to bring in some new players and rebuild this Newcastle United team, I'd also recommend a new right back as well. Of course, you've got Javier Manquillo and DeAndre Yedlin Yedlin, who I'd recommend selling both in the very first season. And Lazaro is actually a very decent young right back / wing back on the right hand side, but it's worth pointing out Valentin is only here on loan in the first season, so come next season he'll be gone. So you're going to want a permanent right back, and I'd definitely recommend two players, either Hector Bellerin or Lucas Klosterman, the German from RB Leipzig. Unfortunately, the latter had gone to Napoli in this save, so I had to settle for Hector Bellerin, but Bellerin's not a bad B option, no doubt about it. 79 rated right back from Arsenal, 24 years old, and grows to 84 rated at his full potential as well. And as we all know, the Spaniard, his best attributes, if you will, the pace. 89 acceleration, 88 sprint speed. This dude is absolutely rapid. The Magpies like their wing backs, so this guy is going to be a real handful in going forward with that high attacking work rate. 76 crossing, 77 ball control, I think it is, and some really good stats when on the offensive. So again, Lazaro, a very decent young right back, but worth pointing out, only here on loan, so you will need a proper and a permanent, if you will, first choice right back. But after those three signings there, we also tried to sell Henry Saivet as Federico Fernandez went to Borussia Dortmund as well. And we also sold Muto, the Japanese striker, to SC Braga as well. Again, these players aren't bad for squad players, but really, you can get better and you can get younger. And it's better to get the cash instead of keeping these guys here and get as much money as you possibly can. We sold Muto to Braga, the Portuguese club, for 8.5 mil. Saivet went to the Turkish side for 1.8 million, and we also sold Christian Atsu to Burnley. I think it was for £6 million. I think we got for Atsu, maybe a little bit more, 6.5 to 7 mil perhaps. But yeah, again, players that are sort of mid 70 overall, in their mid to late 20s. Squad players, not bad to have, but you don't really need a fixed squad in the first season with Newcastle because they're not playing in a European competition, and therefore you don't need to regularly rotate your side as much as you would if you're playing Europa League or Champions League football. But after those sales there, I would recommend a new midfielder with the Magpies as well. Again, their best two young talents are both in the central midfield position. That's the Longstaff brothers, Matty and Sean. But I still would recommend a new central midfielder for Newcastle United. John Joe Shelvey towards the latter stages of his career. Now, Isaac Hayden's a really good player, but you will want someone a little bit better. And it's up to you whether you go for a creative player or a defence-minded player. The three targets I'd recommend are Mason Mount of Chelsea, Phil Foden of Manchester City, and Sandro Tonali of Brescia, who I'm sure you guys know all about this year with the 91 potential. Any of these three will be really decent, but I negotiated a great deal with Man City of valuation for Phil Foden. He's probably going to be the cheapest out of the three as well, because of the fact Man City have a lot of depth in that position, and Phil Foden is one of the lower rated players. You can get him for around his valuation. That's exactly what we got him for, and for 14 mil for Phil Foden, it's an absolute steal as we continue to construct this primarily English core. Foden needs the game time to develop. He's a fantastic young talent. He definitely is one of the best young English talents right now. 4-star skill moves, 3-star weak foot, and again, a really creative player as well. He can play through the heart of the middle of the park or further forward. And if you want to, with the Magpies playing a 4-4-2, you could possibly switch to a 4-1-2-1-2 diamond wide system, have John Joe Shelvey or Isaac Hayden or Nabil Bentaleb, if you will, playing deeper, and have Foden in his natural cam position to utilise his fantastic creative stats. Totally up to you, but Foden, a great young talent, and definitely worth picking up with the 89 potential, with dynamic potential. You can get him into the 90s, no doubt about it. But speaking of great young English talent, we also signed someone here as well who scored his first Premier League goal yesterday. Congratulations to him, Bukayo Saka of Arsenal. Fantastic young English teenage wonder kid. Saka, like Foden, will not cost you very much money due to the fact that Arsenal have a lot of depth in that position, and he's only 74 rated as well, but don't be put off by that. The kid is just 17 years old. He's absolutely rapid, got great agility, great balance, and again, has 89 potential with dynamic potential, could get into the 90s. 4-star weak foot, again, very, very quick, with good technical stats already, high medium work rates, and you can either play Saka as a left back or down the left-hand side on that flank. It's totally up to you. He's a great player to have, and I was a bench player, impact sub in the first season using that pace, or perhaps starting in the left back role. You could possibly make him your Gareth Bale, if you will. That's what we're doing with him in my Nottingham Forest career mode right now. Start him at left back, then gradually phase him further up the field if you want to start him ahead of Danny Rose and Jethro Williams. The choice is yours, although personally speaking, I'd recommend starting Rose on loan from Spurs and having Saka as the impact sub off the bench in late game situations. But with most of our money being spent for in a takeover, we did have just a little bit of cash left over after the sale of Christian Atsu to sign 2 new young English players. And they both come from Norwich City as well. 2 really good young talents. Ben Godfrey, the Norwich centre-half, very, very good young player. And again, you're going to need some depth in that CB area after Culling, Lejeune and Kieran Clark and Dummett and Fernandez and so on and so forth. And Godfrey, really good young talent. 21 years old, 72 rated. Again, in the first season, is going to be your 4th choice centre-back. Won't play much, but does have 83 potential, so can be a really handy bench / first choice centre half as the years go by. And also bring along one of his mates as well, Max Aarons from Norwich City, the very talented young right back, only 19 years old, 73 rated, very, very quick, and has 85 potential as well. So with Hector Bellerin coming in permanently, you know Lazaro is going to be gone next season, but you got Aarons and Bellerin to battle for that first choice right back spot from season 2 onwards, both of which will cost you around a valuation, maybe a little bit over. Norwich won't hold you to ransom for the 2 young talents though. We got them combined for £10 million, which is an absolute steal for 2 great young English talents as we continue to build and assemble this English core here with Newcastle United. So in the end, we signed 8 players for a whopping £140.5 million. When you look at the players that have come in, most of them English, Bellerin and Richarlison being the only 2 outside of England. Saka, Foden and Gomez all have 89 potential. Richarlison's got 88 potential. Abraham has 86 potential. Aarons has 85 potential. Bellerin's got 84 and Godfrey's got 83 potential. We've got some amazing young talents here with Newcastle United, and one of the best things about it was how much deadwood we culled in the first season as well. As you see here, the list of departures here, most of the players in their mid to late 20s, some in their early 30s as well, but really all of these players are lacking the quality to be part of this Newcastle United team. We sold 11 of them for just shy of £90 million. In the end, it was a net loss of £53 million, but when you look at the new look Newcastle United team, we've reduced our squad size by 3, but it's not too important due to the fact we don't play in Europe in the first season. And with all the young talent coming in, constructing a primarily English core, it's a much better Newcastle United team and a much more fun one as well. The question is, could our new look Magpies finish in mid-table in the Premier League and reach the last 16 of the FA Cup in the first season like the board asked of us? Well, as you can see, we did indeed. We did not break into the Europa League in the first season, which was what I was secretly hoping for in the first season. I was hoping we might possibly scrape 7th place, but in the end, as you can see, we finished in 9th place. So it was a top half of the table finish, so going one step further than the board asked of us. 54 points on the board in the first season, finishing 11 points behind Leicester City in 7th place. But in the first season, to finish in the top 10, that's still very good for Newcastle United, and a very good start to life at St James's Park as well, as we all well cleared a drop zone in the end. And as for the Carabao Cup as well, whilst the board don't care about this competition, thought I'd show you where we got to. We actually reached the last 16 in the Carabao Cup before being knocked out by West Ham by a goal to nil. So not a bad start for Newcastle United in the Carabao Cup. And as for the FA Cup, once again the board asked us to reach the round of 16 of this competition, where as you can see Liverpool beat Chelsea in the final, and we did indeed reach the last 16 of the FA Cup, exactly what the board are asking for, as we were knocked out by the eventual finalist Chelsea by 2-1. So a kind of draw there, and we possibly could have got to the quarter-finals. But either way, pretty impressive first season for the Magpies, finishing in the top 10 and again hitting that cup objective as well. Now, with a new look Magpies side, with the primarily English core coming in as well, it's a much more fun side. It's a much more enjoyable one. And now Newcastle United have themselves an identity again. I feel that's what they've been lacking really in recent seasons, a real club identity with Newcastle United. To go with a new English core being constructed, Saka, Foden, Gomez, Abraham, Aarons, Godfrey, to add to the Longstaff brothers as well. It's a much more sort of unified side, if you will. It's much more fun. It's much younger, and it's much better as well. So it's a really, really fun team, and I know so many people are doing Newcastle United career modes right now, activating that financial takeover and building their own dream Magpie side, and this is definitely what I'd recommend for them again. Culling that deadwood in the first season, so important. Building a core, primarily British and Irish, or English if you will, and making it a much younger, funner and better side for now and for the future as well. It's a really fun fun team to use in this year's FIFA career mode. Whether you activate the financial takeover or not, it's time to end the uncertainty at St James's Park and build a much more enjoyable Newcastle United team. I had a lot of fun using this side, and I'm very excited to see where the takeover goes through. Let me know in the comment section down below whether you think the takeover will collapse or whether it will go through. It seems like every single day there's more and more rumours, but let me know in the comments whether you think it's going to go through or not. It should be interesting either way, but this is certainly an interesting team to use for a FIFA career mode. I had a lot of fun rebuilding this side with a financial takeover. But that will end today's episode of Who to Sign For, guys. So big thank you for watching. Really hope you have enjoyed it, and if you did enjoy today's episode, then please do drop a like. Much love to you all. Hopefully you enjoyed this special episode of Who to Sign For. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you for the next episode of Who to Sign For very soon.